All right, everyone. Hello, how we doing? Welcome back to the Beef Up Front podcast. I am your host, Ryan Coyle, and today I'm joined by Temple University new transfer quarterback and former star of the Netflix hit show QB1, Riel Mitchell. Riel, how are we doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm chilling. Been hanging in there with the virus and everything. How has that been affecting you and kind of what you've been able to do, training, working out wise?
Yeah, so when the pandemic started, I was in Iowa.
Okay.
Away from home, not really having all the access to the facilities I kind of was normal to having. But my parents actually had a house down there where we made a kind of in-home gym.
Okay.
So I was working out doing that. And then a lot of the receivers that were up at Iowa State that were still around, I was throwing with them a little bit. But now back home, I've been back home for the past 3 weeks or so, and I got my quarterback coach here, some trainers I work with, stuff for like weightlifting and stuff like that. I was able to kind of bounce back in a sense, feeling better than ever as far as like a physical and mental standpoint.
All right, cool. Just so for a lot of people from being out from the West Coast, a lot of people from out here in Philadelphia might not know all that much about you. So I wanted to give you a chance to kind of introduce yourself and talk about who you are as a person and as a player.
Right. So I'm originally from Southern California, born and raised. Ended up going to St. John Bosco High School out of Bellflower, LA, where it's kind of known for being a powerhouse school, and I like to think that I helped contribute to that. But
Yeah.
played there, won the state championship my junior year. Also ran track my freshman and sophomore year. I was the fastest sophomore in the state in the 100 and 200 meters. And then, yeah, I went to Iowa State out of high school. I was there for my last 2 years, 2 seasons, and now I'm moving on to Temple. But that's a little bit about me.
All right, cool. So like I said at the beginning, you were one of the stars of the Netflix show QB1, which, for those of you who don't know, follows around four quarterbacks throughout their senior year and kind of showcases them. And I mean, it's all guys who we've seen on the big stage, like yourself, Rial. We've seen Jake Fromm, we've seen Justin Fields, Tate Martell, all big time quarterbacks like that. Can you just describe what that experience was like?
Yeah, it was a really cool experience. I think everyone involved with it really enjoyed it. I think my friends got a kick out of it. Cracking jokes and whatnot. But I think there's some lessons that can be learned just from watching it, and I feel like some characters really seen throughout that film. But all in all, it was a really good experience.
So watching from watching the show and kind of what you're saying about your track background, the main thing I picked up from that show is your mobility and your athletic ability when it comes to playing the quarterback position. Could you just explain what that's like to be able to have that dual threat ability and kind of a quarterback that you would model your game after or can compare yourself to?
Yeah, so I think just having that duality of being able to run the ball and throw the ball is kind of what all football's kind of transitioning over to, just because it's so hard to defend from a defensive standpoint. And I try not necessarily to model my game after anyone, but I think there are sort of comparisons that I would agree with, and I think there's nothing wrong with being compared to some of these guys like Kyle Murray and Deshaun Watson. Those are guys that you know I follow closely and motivate me, and hopefully I'll be able to play against them one day.
Yeah, I mean those are definitely two of the quarterbacks on the rise in the game. You kind of see with Lamar Jackson too. Even Tua is a big time mobile guy who he's coming into the league. So Cam Newton had his success. Michael Vick had his success. I mean, we're definitely getting into that newer window where kind of pocket passers are starting to fade, and it's more about what else can you do. And I mean, that definitely fits your description perfectly. But coming out of high school, you touched on committing to Iowa State. Kind of what was the reasoning behind that, and what was your time like with the Cyclones?
Yeah, so Coming out of high school, Iowa State was, I think, my 10th offer or so. I really fell in love with, once I was able to get up there, the community there, and the players. I think the players really were driven to changing the culture, the reputation Iowa State had, and I was all for it. And the coaches, did a good job building a good relationship with me. But if anything, it was really just the community. The community really attracted me, and the players' work ethic.
What was like the kind of transition from going to Southern California beach area to the Midwest cold plains of Iowa?
Exactly. You kind of just hit it on the head. Really,
Yeah.
is the weather is really the biggest thing that you got to adjust to. But I kind of knew what I was getting myself into, and I kind of wanted to get out of California just to see some different stuff. So, why not Iowa? I guess.
And now with Temple, you'll be going to a big city, a great city. So it's kind of making your way across the country. But
Literally.
so we talked about your career at Iowa State. You did hit the transfer portal this past season. What was the reasoning behind that, and kind of what was it like in the transfer portal?
Yeah, so I think there are a couple factors as to why I decided to leave. But at the end of the day, and what a lot of people care about is I just wasn't really seeing the field as much as I thought, and really wanted to help the team reach new heights. And so I decided it was my best interest to enter that portal. And Temple was one of the first schools that reached out to me, and that was really important, that they built that relationship with me and my family. That's what they've really been doing the past 4 months or so. But you get the portal brings new stuff every day, new coaches trying to contact you and whatnot. But I enjoyed the process a lot, and I'm really happy with my decision.
Yeah, I feel like definitely with the coronavirus and everything, the transfer portal was probably much different this year than it would be in the past years. So, with that being said, with campuses being closed and everything, were you ever actually able to visit Philadelphia and Temple, or was it kind of just virtual stuff? And then, can you tell us, other than when you said about the great relationships you formed with the coaching staff already, what was it like in that process talking to Temple and being one of the top transfers out on the market?
Yeah. So I was I. It's funny actually. So the day before I was supposed to come out on my visit, that's when it really hit hard, the pandemic, and everything was being closed down. I had to change my flight, and whatnot. So I was never officially able to come out to Philly. I was really bummed about that, but the coaches did what they could do, and that's a lot of virtual tours and getting me on the phone with a lot of personnel around Temple, just to build relationships that way, and try their best to give me a glimpse of what Temple football is really about. So talking to strength coaches and some academic people. So it was really just their efforts really shine through.
And kind of what you're saying about Temple football, one of the most attractive things I think, especially for incoming recruits and transfers, is the fact that even though they're not a Power Five school in recent years, for the non-Power Fives, they've been one of the best programs in terms of sending people to the NFL draft. I think they're up there in the top three with players sent. And I was talking to one of your future teammates last night, Isaiah Graham Mobley, who's a linebacker, and he said that's definitely a big thing and kind of player development and sending guys to the league. That's what we've been seeing out of Temple recently, and you could be setting yourself up to do that as well.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's definitely a plus. You want to follow in good footsteps, and shoot, a lot of guys are going to the league from a certain school. You just hope and work to be one of those guys as well.
So, what is the plan for you this upcoming season in terms of will you be redshirting again because of the transfer rule, trying to apply for a waiver, or is that all kind of up in the air and you're waiting to get to campus and talk to coaching staff and personnel more?
Yeah, so I'm currently in the process of working on that waiver. Would love to be eligible this season, and I think that's a goal of mine as well as the typical football coaching staff. So to answer that question, yeah, trying to get this waiver done, and I'm not too sure when that will be finalized, and their verdict will come out, but hopefully sooner than later.
All right. One of the questions I was very curious to hear about being a diehard Philadelphia sports fan myself. What's some of the stuff that you've heard about Philadelphia fans and kind of what you've been told in regards to them?
Yeah, I've heard that they love hard, but they might have the tendency to hate hard as well. So I think it's really important from an athlete standpoint. You better stay on their good side. I tell you that much, and I plan to do so. But they have so many sports, professional teams, collegiate teams, and it's just I love to just be around that passion, and hopefully I'll feed off that and bring a lot of championships home.
Yeah, the one key word there is passion. It's but it ebbs and flows. I mean, when you're at the top, they'll love you. If you get Temple to a New Year's Six bowl game, a national ranking, they're gonna love you. But playing bad, that you'll hear the boos. But I mean, usually when you hear the boos, it's warranted. But when you're doing well, you'll hear all the love and receive all the praise that you could possibly imagine.
Definitely, yeah, I can't wait.
But yeah, just don't. If the one thing is the one piece of advice I'll give you, if you hear the boo birds, don't complain about them because that's what ticks the fans off the most.
Okay, gotcha.
But so Temple plays down at Lincoln Financial Field, where home of the Philadelphia Eagles. Was playing in an NFL stadium like kind of a draw to when it came to coming down to Temple.
I wouldn't necessarily say it was a draw, but I mean, who doesn't want a chance to play in an NFL stadium? Because everyone kind of aspires to play at that level. So I think it's definitely cool, and I really look forward to it. But I was never really like, ooh, like it wasn't really like a decision factor,
Uh
I
huh.
guess. But it definitely adds on to it.
It's like a cool thing. I know they get like shuttle buses for people like on campus and houses near campus for the students, and they bring them down to the tailgate. They always like a big tailgate, and there's a thing where they'll form like a tunnel kind of when the players are walking in the stadium and cheer them on. It's a really cool thing to watch and see, and you'll be able to experience coming in the coming years for the Owls.
Oh, definitely. That sounds like a dope tradition. Can't wait.
Yeah, so before that was kind of our little interview segment. We're gonna hit some like more fun questions and kind of talk a little bit more about Philadelphia. So my first question is, you probably been asked this. Have you ever had a cheesesteak?
Um, no, I don't think I really have.
Well, all right. The main spot you got to go to is Steve's. That's Steve's Steaks is my favorite place. Some people might try to drag you to Pat's or Gino's, but Steve's is the best in my opinion. So try and find
All right,
teammates once you get out here and hit up Steve's one night.
definitely sure. I might do it the first night.
What about your favorite place to go on vacation to?
Probably Arizona. My best friend goes there, or not. He doesn't go there. He's from there, so I'll go visit him. I just went a couple weeks ago. Actually, had a lot of fun down there. So probably Arizona.
All right. How about your favorite NFL team?
My favorite NFL teams is it's the Eagles.
Yeah. All right. That's a good.
Yup.
They uh they love their quarterbacks down there, especially the greatest backup quarterback of all time after that Super Bowl. But who would you label the greatest quarterback of all time?
Shoot, I think there's been so many great quarterbacks, but shoot, probably Tom Brady. Probably like it's
Yeah.
tough. That's tough. But I
You,
would say Tom. I don't really focus on that too much.
how about the top quarterback in the NFL today? Would you go with Lamar or Mahomes?
If I was drafting a team and I had to have a quarterback, I'm most likely picking Mahomes. Like
All right.
you kind of got to.
Smart pick. That guy's a transcendent figure. I don't know
Definitely.
how up to date you are, what your liking is to basketball, but are you a basketball guy?
Not a huge basketball guy, but I mean, we'll see what your question's going to be.
Uh, would you pick LeBron or Jordan, greatest player?
Now people might hate me for this, but I gotta go with LeBron.
That's
Sorry.
yeah. Another really cool thing about Philadelphia is there's a ton of basketball down there, and the Sixers are kind of right 20 minutes down the street from campus. So that's another thing where you should definitely check out. I mean, the whole sports complex, all the stadiums right there. The Phillies for the MLB, the Eagles, and the Sixers and Flyers play in the same building. So it's a whole big sports complex. It's a really cool thing down there that you'll definitely be able to check out. Uh,
Awesome.
Other than getting your first cheesesteak, what's one thing that you look forward to doing in Philadelphia the most?
Probably just like sightseeing. Apparently I've been there like in grade school for like a field trip, but I just don't really remember. So really just getting a chance to sightsee, I look forward to.
All right, you got to do the classic Philly Rocky steps one time too.
All right, definitely.
Liberty Bell. There's a bunch of good stuff. Last question here before we wrap this up. What will Temple fans be getting from Real Mitchell, and what should we expect from you and the program over these next few years?
Yeah, I think the Temple faithful should trust and know that they're getting a winner at heart. I'm really passionate about winning, and I try to win in everything I do, whether that's in the classroom, in the community, or obviously on the football field. And a really passionate guy that loves football and loves to compete. So yeah, I have to go with that.
All
And then
right,
as far as what to expect, hopefully in the next couple of years, bring home some AAC championships.
get that hardware. A few years removed from winning the AAC championship under Coach Matt Rule. We got Coach Carrion here, who had a great first year with the program, and excited to see what you guys can do and build within these next few years. I really appreciate you coming on, Riel, and keep an eye out for our podcast guys on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, whatnot. And thanks again, Riel. Any last comments before we head out?
Man, just really appreciate you having me on the show, and looking forward to Week 1 versus Miami. God bless.
Yeah, all right. Appreciate it. Thank you, man.
Yeah, no problem.